Well, hey, everybody, and welcome to the Daily Bible Podcast presented by Saint Church. My name's Caleb, and our hope is to help you study the Word of God every single day. Every day, we're taking time to upload episodes on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube, where we read a chapter of the Bible, we look at the context it was written in, and we see what it has to say for us today. Today, we're going to continue to do that by reading out of Genesis chapter 50, the last chapter in the book of Genesis. So we're going to be putting a bow on this entire study by looking at how Joseph ends up finishing his time with his brothers and ultimately his passing, which is going to then lead us into the book of Exodus. Now, really quick, really fast before we dive on in, if you're over on YouTube, make sure to take some time to subscribe and leave a like. If you're on Spotify or Apple, take a moment to follow the podcast, leave a rating and a review if you got a minute at the end. Just 5 stars would mean so much as it helps more people know this is trustworthy content. But with that being said, let's just dive right on in. Genesis chapter 50, starting off in verse 1. This is what the Word of God has to say today. It says this: Joseph threw himself on his father and wept over him and kissed him. Then Joseph directed the physicians in his service to embalm his father Israel. So the physicians embalmed him, taking a full 40 days, for that was the time required for embalming. And the Egyptians mourned for him 70 days. When the days of mourning had passed, Joseph said to Pharaoh's court, "If I have found favor in your eyes, speak to Pharaoh for me. Tell him, my father made me swear an oath and said, I am about to die. Bury me in the tomb I dug for myself in the land of Canaan. Now let me go up and bury my father, then I will return." Pharaoh said, "Go up and bury your father, as he made you swear to do." So Joseph went up to bury his father. All Pharaoh's officials accompanied him, and dignitaries of his court, and all the dignitaries of Egypt, besides all the members of Joseph's household and his brothers, and those belonging to his father's household. Only their children and their flocks and their herds were left in Goshen. Chariots and horsemen also went up with him. It was a very large company. When they reached the threshing floor of Atad near the Jordan, they lamented loudly and bitterly. And there Joseph observed a 7-day period of mourning for his father. When the Canaanites who lived there saw the mourning at the threshing floor of Atad, they said, "The Egyptians are holding a solemn ceremony of mourning." That is why that place near the Jordan is called Abel Mizraim. So Jacob's sons did as he had commanded them. They carried him to the land of Canaan and buried him in the cave in the field of Machpelah near Mamre, which Abraham had bought along with the field as a burial place from Ephron the Hittite. After burying his father, Joseph returned to Egypt together with his brothers and all the others who had gone with him to bury his father. When Joseph's brothers saw that their father was dead, they said, "What if Joseph holds a grudge against us and pays us back for all the wrongs we did to him?" So they sent word to Joseph saying, "Your father left these instructions before he died. This is what you are to say to Joseph. I ask you to forgive your brothers the sins and the wrongs they committed in treating you so badly. Now please forgive the sins of the servants of the God of your father." When their message came to Joseph, he wept. His brothers then came and threw themselves down before him. "We are your slaves," they said. But Joseph said to them, "Don't be afraid. Am I in the place of God? You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good, to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives. So then, don't be afraid. I will provide for you and your children." And he reassured them and spoke kindly to them. Joseph stayed in Egypt along with all his father's family. He lived 110 years and saw the 3rd generation of Ephraim's children. Also the children of Machir, son of Manasseh, were placed at birth on Joseph's knee. Then Joseph said to his brothers, "I am about to die, but God will surely come to your aid and take you up out of this land to the land he promised on oath to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob." And Joseph made the Israelites swear an oath and said, "God will surely come to your aid, and then you must carry my bones up from this place." So Joseph died at the age of 110, and after they embalmed him, he was placed in a coffin in Egypt. And that is the close of Genesis chapter 50, and that is the close fully then of the book of Genesis. Now, as we see this book come to a close, we see a couple of things tied up in the story. First off, we end up reading and seeing the fact that Joseph severely mourned the passing of his father, and he did not wait to be able to have him prepared for burial. So he goes, he prepares him. The Egyptians show how much they honor not just Joseph, but Jacob by sending this large company with him, and they go and they bury him. And they bury him in a way that gives him honor, that gives him recognition, that shows the respect that they have, and also the fact that they honored his request, that he would be taken out and he would be taken to a place where he needed to be buried with his forefathers. Now, after this, we do see an interesting moment. We see the fact that Joseph's brothers, the other sons of Jacob, do not trust that Joseph has truly forgiven them. So they make up this thing as if they were told, hey, we were told by our father that you need to forgive us, so we want to let you know because he said that, all this different stuff. And ultimately, what are they doing? Well, trying to cover their own tails. They're trying to make sure they're okay. They're trying to make sure that he doesn't now become angry with them. Yet what do we see then? We see Joseph weep because Joseph is so heartbroken that they don't get it. They don't get the fact that he had forgiven them, that he tested them because he loved them and he wanted relationship with them. What is he getting to see in this moment? And it's a really hard moment. He's seeing that he still is not just one of the brothers again. He's still one who is seen in a different way. And so Joseph looks and he reassures them, I love you. I care about you. Joseph ends up getting to live a long and good life. And as he is laid to rest, he too asks that one day his bones be taken from this place. And now that day does not happen very shortly after, but happens many years later. And in the book of Exodus, as we're going to dive into it tomorrow, we're going to see much of this story unfold as the people of Israel start a long journey and process to being free from being in the land of Egypt. But today, what does this mean for us? Well, first, I want to remind you of something. The book of Genesis, based off of best presumption and historical understanding, is attributed to have been written by Moses. Now, within this, you might say, well, Moses hasn't even been born yet at this point. He hasn't been born in the midst of the stories that are being told, and it's important to remember the fact, especially as we close out a book, that we remember the way it was passed down. It was passed down through oral tradition, the telling of it. Even if you're listening to this right now, the way in which people would be told things. Why does this matter? Well, not everyone was literate. So what did you have to do? You had to tell story. Yet something that we misconstrued is we look at this and we end up saying, oh, well, it's like a game of telephone. Oh my goodness, people are going to just start sharing it and it's going to get dissolved and all this stuff. You have to remember, in a time when information and story and lineage mattered so much, they needed to make sure they had good systems and practices to be able to pass these things down. So yes, it's attributed to Moses that he wrote this down, but the account of the book of Genesis, we see it to be something that we trust people were passing down well and insightfully. And to this day now, we look back and we see that at least once it was recorded, there has been a consistency among it. Now, within this, then, what's the story showing us today? Well, it does show us something important. Joseph's brothers had not really changed. They had not gotten to the place of truly accepting him. Yet Joseph does not allow that to lead to him being bitter and angry at them, but rather he looks and he continues to say, hey, look, I still love you and I care about you. Friend, today we must live a life that demonstrates for those around us that God has done something and he has something for them. And we must seek to be able to help more and more people understand that. And so you might be misunderstood. You might not have people that fully get what you're doing, but friend, persevere so they can see it. But with that being said, that's the book of Genesis. So I want to say thanks for jumping on and checking this out. If you're looking for other books of the Bible to study, man, check out what we got going on here on the podcast. Over on YouTube, we got them all divided up into playlists. On Spotify and Apple, just start to scroll. You're going to see books like Galatians and Philippians, and you're going to see Ruth, and you're going to see the Gospel of Mark, and just a bunch of different books. Make sure to check them out if you're interested. But with that being said, that's what I got for you guys today. Tomorrow, we're going to be diving into the book of Exodus, so I can't wait to see you then, because we're taking time to study the Word of God every single day.